Hello and welcome to EngLearn. Today we are looking at processes of language change in preparation for paper 3. Language constantly evolves. These changes are a result of different historical, social, and economical circumstances and happen in all areas of language. However, change in lexis is the most important. So today we are focusing on how new words enter language in response to the ever-changing circumstances in the real world. One of the most common occurrences is borrowing. Languages constantly borrow words from one another, and borrowing refers to introducing words from one language into another. These borrowed words are called loanwords. Most loanwords in English come from French and Latin. Can you guess why? Of course, because of historical reasons. Britain has a long history of mutual cultural exchange with France, dating back as far as the Norman conquest in 1066 and even before. Since the two nations are so closely connected, it is only logical that they borrow words from one another. The reason why there are so many words of Latin origin in the English language is the fact that the British society was for a long time very heavily influenced by the Church, and Latin is the most important language of Christianity. As medicine, law, and other sciences developed, Latin names and phrases became an important part of the English language. With colonization, the spread of the British Empire, and later on globalization, English came into contact with many other languages all around the world. These languages, to a smaller or larger extent, also influenced English, and some of their words became a part of the English vocabulary. When it comes to semantic changes, which is a change in meaning, there are four major processes that occur throughout history. Those are narrowing, broadening, pejoration, and amelioration. Let's look at each of them. Narrowing refers to the process in which the meaning of a word becomes less general and more specific over time. So the meaning goes from more general to more restricted. For example, the word meat used to mean any kind of food, and over time its meaning was restricted to only food from animal flesh. Skyline used to refer to any kind of a horizon, whereas now in American English, this word is used only for a horizon decorated by skyscrapers. The verb to starve, similarly to the German verb sterben, simply meant to die, but has over time become more restricted and now refers to only dying of hunger. Another example is the word deer, which used to refer to any kind of a four-legged creature and has since narrowed its meaning to the animal we now call a deer. On the other hand, broadening is the process in which the meaning of a word becomes more general and less restricted over time. So we go from a specific meaning towards a more general one. There is a very interesting example of broadening in the English language, and that is the origin of the word guy. The origin of this word lies in the name of Guy Fawkes, a well-known figure in the British history. Guy Fawkes was a Roman Catholic revolutionary who planned to carry out the gunpowder plot with the aim of killing the king by blowing up the Houses of Parliament. This attempt failed, and to commemorate the event, people began burning big dummies of Guy Fawkes. They began calling these dummies guys. Later on, the meaning broadened to any man with an ugly appearance, and then broadened even more to mean any man. This meaning is still in use today. Interestingly, the meaning broadened even more, so it doesn't just refer to men only. When you walk into a room full of your friends who are both female and male, you can freely say, "Hey guys." In this context, the plural of the word guy can refer to a mixture of both females and males. So that's how the word guy went from referring to a single, particular man to a group of men and women. The next process we will talk about is pejoration. With pejoration, the meaning of the word becomes more negative than it originally was. For example, the word disease used to mean discomfort, as in dis-ease, the lack of ease. However, over time, it acquired a more negative meaning of illness that we use today. The word spinster used to mean a person who spins, but over time, this became a pejorative term for an unmarried woman. The word awful has its origin in the very positive word awe, so awful used to mean full of awe. However, over time it changed its meaning to very bad or terrible. However, a reverse process also exists. Amelioration is the process in which the meaning of the word becomes more positive than it originally was. An example of this is the word terrific, which moved from meaning inspiring terror to anything spectacular to ultimately meaning something spectacularly good. Apart from semantic changes, we will also look at some lexical changes. The most important of these processes is the process of derivation. Derivation is when new words are created from existing words, usually by adding prefixes or suffixes. For example, from the word happy, we can get very different new words, such as unhappy or happiness, by adding prefixes, suffixes, or both. Adding prefixes and suffixes can, but doesn't always change the word class of the word. When people are faced with new inventions or phenomena they have never seen before, they make up new words to describe those objects or events. For example, before cryptocurrency became a thing, people didn't have a word to describe this phenomenon because it did not exist. Then, when it came to being, we needed a word to describe it, and thus the word cryptocurrency was born. These new words are called neologisms. They're very common nowadays in the field of technology. There are several other processes we need to learn as well. When making acronyms or initialisms, we take the initial letters of a word to form a new word. For example, from the words United States of America, we get USA. Federal Bureau of Investigation becomes FBI, and so on. Compounding is combining two words into one. Note and book give us notebook. Rail and road give a railroad. Blending is combining the beginning of one word and the end of another. For example, brunch originates from breakfast and lunch. A workaholic originates from work and alcoholic. Clipping is shortening words, so celebrities become celebs and mayonnaise becomes mayo. Now, all this theory is very interesting, but how do you use this practically in the exam? You can use this knowledge in question 1 of paper 3, which deals with language change. As you know, in this question you will get texts A, B, and C. A is a prose text from a certain period in history, B is an n-gram graph, and C is a word table of corpus data. It is likely that either text B or C will include a word that is an example of one of these processes. Commenting on that fact and showing understanding of how a certain word changes its meaning or form over time will be an important element of your response. This is especially useful if, for example, text A shows an earlier form or meaning of the word, and text B shows how that form has gradually fallen out of use. I hope you found this video useful. If yes, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Happy exam season, everyone!